Okay. Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today we have Trevor here. Trevor also has a YouTube channel. So do you want to briefly introduce your channel?
Hi, I'm Trevor, the INFJ. My channel, we just talk about MBTI stuff and like INFJs, and I throw in a few psychology videos every now and then a random flute videos because I also play the flute. So, yeah.
Great. So if you want to subscribe to Trevor, check out the link in the description box below. And so today we will be touching on the inferior function of the INFJ, which is the extroverted sensing function. And we will also be touching on like the more personal aspect of it about how different INFJs can have experiences with SE in their lives and also some of the challenges that come with grasping your last function. So to start off, I would like to ask you about like your own experience. Like when did you start to be more aware of your last function?
hmm for me, I became aware of my last function in early elementary school, I would say. As a child, your personality is basically almost entirely comprised of your first function.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very true for me. I was a homebody. My parents would often they would often wonder like why I would stay inside all day, and I would always kind of choose to be alone, even though I did have friends. Um, but I also played soccer, and I had a lot of guy friends in all the way through high school. I had a good amount of guy friends, so in elementary school, I played soccer, and when I would play soccer, a extremely rambunctious side of me would come out, and like people would always say that I was like a different person when I would play
Mhm.
soccer, and and as a child also, so I played soccer and I was very rambunctious during soccer, and I was very in the moment. Um, People would say I was relentless, like I had like relentless. When I played sports, my stamina was always a strong attribute. And then, so that was like the soccer side. And then I think this relates kind of also to, I had a lot of guy friends, and we would literally like wrestle and fight all the time. And it's not like abusive fighting. Yeah.
Um,
What?
no, I'm surprised.
Oh yeah, I know. If you know me now, it's like what? I like make videos about INFJs, like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, so having a ton of guy friends, we're always wrestling and fighting, and I was actually very a very dominant child. My friends would tell me that I was too bossy, which might be an FE thing, but I just always played so rough, and it was crazy. And then in middle school, um, I started to get more into band, and for some reason, or not for some reason, like I always wanted to be a goody goody. I always wanted to be like a nerd. Like who wants to be a nerd? I wanted to be a nerd. Like this is where we splinter from SE. I always wanted to be a nerd, and I wanted to be smart, and I wanted to be a goody goody because I thought that's what you should do as a human being.
Mhm.
Crazy. And so I stopped playing sports so much. I played cross country a little bit in middle school, but in middle school was when I stopped playing soccer. And well, no, I played soccer till seventh grade, so that's the middle of middle school.
Mhm.
So I started music, and a lot of my friends at this time started to become. A lot of my friends ended up being girls at this time, so I started to adopt this identity as an introvert, and
Mhm.
the bossy side of me, the FE side, stayed, but the rambunctious side and the more physically interactive side of me kind of went away. And part of this is, I believe, because at this point in my life, I had started to, you don't have the clearest understanding of sexuality when you're in elementary school because you're a kid. But like
Yeah.
in middle school and
Mhm.
high school was when I started to like understand that I am gay, but like I didn't
Mhm.
even know what that meant, and I was in the closet, and it's like who knows really what's going on. But I think that had something to do with it because I was in the closet, and so much of my personality was so shut down. And
So
then
you kind of repress SE as well during this time.
yes, totally. What like thinking of myself now versus during that time of middle school and high school, I was so shut down, so like controlled by other people and stuff. Yeah, for sure. And then then college comes. And so my senior year of high school was when I discovered MBTI. And
Mhm.
I felt so much of my personality suddenly became relevant. Like, because so much of it, yeah, like outside of MBTI and psychology or counseling or social work, NI and FE are not valued that much. That's
Yeah,
just life.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, so with MBTI, suddenly my ideas and thoughts and the things I thought about all day suddenly had value. And then and then my extroverted sensing really became conscious when I started watching Wen's video. She's
Oh, yeah, I love her videos.
yeah. Do you follow her?
Watching hers, like, I mean, this was like she was one of the first YouTubers in the MBTI community that I watched. So I just like the introduction, I guess.
Yeah. Do you still watch her?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I'm like a religiously Wen's fan. It's crazy. Yeah. So her whole thing at the time, I guess this was 2015, 2016, is
Yeah.
that like extroverted sensing, develop your extroverted sensing so that you are um so that you become okay with conflict. And it's kind of like the
Hmm.
chicken and the egg of
Yeah.
SE and conflict. Yeah. And years later, I'm not so sure if extroverted sensing exactly translates to conflict, but that was how the cookie crumbled. I guess that was where I stopped taking people's shit, basically.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Very strong, yeah.
mhm. What's very strong?
SE, as in the function itself, it's like
Yes.
it can be pretty scary, I think, if it's like
From
if
an
it's
INFJ.
if it's in a wild state, if you know what I mean.
If it's a what state?
In like the wild states. Like if it's
Yeah.
not restricted, then it can be pretty strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because as INFJs, we have inferior SE, but when we
Mhm.
actually get into it, it is a huge force, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I've ever lost an argument. Just gonna say that.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is right there. The competitive spirit.
Mhm. Yeah. It's
That's
coming
what
out.
football and I think like just like competitive sports are very like popular among the ESFPs and the ESTPs. I realize. Like I think almost every single ESP I know play some kind of like either soccer or football or some related like rugby, whatever, during like high school years. Yeah,
Mhm.
this is
Yeah.
like actually a true stereotype.
Yeah. No,
The
with
guys of them too. Yeah.
yeah, with ESFPs and ESTPs, I find it helps to just lean into the stereotypes in the MBTI community, just like exploit them because they're gonna be true. And
Yeah, they really are. And they really do party a lot too. So
yeah, like even
later in life, then they might actually like tone it down a little bit, I realize. But like in the high school phase, that's where they are like the most stereotypical. Yeah,
yeah, for
they're
sure.
like the most stereotypical during high school, right? I feel like I was the most INFJ during high school, like the stereotypical version of it.
Really, how so?
So actually, I will also like briefly talk about myself a little bit because it's
Yeah.
like the female version of developing SE and seeing how that might differ. So, okay, again, only speaking for myself. So when I was young, actually, I had both. I feel like strangely, I think because I didn't have like the societal pressure yet when I was like maybe 5 years old. So I felt like I had all the functions. And even though I wasn't like super in touch with SE, I also had the like bossy side, which I'm not sure if it's maybe a combination of FE and SE going on. Yeah, and I'm like more rambunctious among people I know. So like like with strangers, I would be like really introverted and stuff, and like, with a group of people in school. But if I'm like with my close friends or with like my family, then that side becomes really obvious. And I don't know if people believe in horoscopes, but I'm also an Aries, so like I think it's like even more obvious.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
I have
like
a
I think
totally
at
new view of
home,
you now.
but
I have a totally new view of you now.
oh, okay. What is yours? Just curious.
What?
What is your horoscope? Just curious.
Oh, Capricorn.
Oh, okay. You same as my dad. Okay, never mind. That's another topic for another day. I better steer it back. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so I have a rambunctious side as well with like people that I know really well, and mostly in the home setting. And then like I think when I go to school though, there's like a lot of this like putting people in boxes kind of situation going on. And I'm not like, unlike you, I'm really not good at sports. So I think that's where my weakness of SE shows up, because I don't think I mean, like, we had to practice like soccer for fun. I mean, like in one class, I actually got pretty good at it, which was surprising. But I don't know if it counts as being good, because it was technically like nothing professional. It was just like within our small class, that kind of situation. Um, but I think generally speaking, I'm still pretty weak at sports. And when I was younger, when I would see these people with like strong SE, I actually felt a bit intimidated by them. I think it's because I'm not aware that I also have it. So I saw like the whole, because people are hanging out with like different groups of people, and I think my best friends were both intuitives. I think they were like NTPs or something, and so I definitely felt like difference from the dominant SE types. And I think I had a box in my mind, just like the SE types and the SI types. I didn't know about MBTI back then, but I think I sort of like subconsciously group people according to, because there's like the predominant types are SJs and SPs in my school. So I
Yeah.
kind of subconsciously group them into like, oh, these are the SJ types and these are the SE types, but without the labels.
Yeah.
And the SP types are actually the ones that I'm more afraid of. Actually, maybe not all of them, but I think I just like didn't get to know them personally. But like there was one situation where I got to get to know two of them personally, and we actually had a lot of fun together. So that was surprising. Like I think it's like from a distance, I was scared of them, but like when I get to know them better, I realized that, oh, they're actually pretty fun people to be around. Like not that scary actually.
Yeah, that's cool. What was the fun like? Like, what did they bring you out of your shell, or did you discover you had a lot in common? Like, what was that?
Right. So I think it was like back in when I was like 12 or something. I so okay, so like we also had like a popular crowd, but it wasn't that serious because it was like, primary school or elementary school. But there was like a few SP people in my school that were considered popular, and then I happened to be like sitting with them just because of school arrangements. And then I realized that I can be like completely myself with them, in a sense that I can be very like crazy, I guess. Like I can show like my all sides of myself, like the rambunctious side and also the FE side or whatever. Like because usually with like maybe other sensors like SJ types, I don't think I show my rambunctious side that much, or at least like not as much.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, like with the SJ types, because I think I don't want to like scare them or something.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so SJs, they're gonna want a high level of SE because they're always setting up order with introverted sensing. So if you are going to put in extroverted sensing into their environment, you're going to need like strong SE to do it well.
I feel like the ISJs are like they get along pretty okay with the ESPs. Whereas the ESJs are the ones that have more problems with the SP types because they are more like controlling. I mean, because they really are more controlling.
You
Like the
really are.
ESFJs, the ESTJs would tend to be more restrictive on the freedom, I guess, of the SP types. Whereas I think the ISJs are fine. Like and I get along with them better than the others. But yeah, back to the SE thing. So I think that I'm more aware of SE in kind of the dressing sense, like world, because I can't do it in sports, so I have to find outlets. And in high school, I became really hyper aware of how people dress. I mean, even though we are supposed to wear uniforms, but I still became hyper aware of how people dress because it's high school. And I think I started to follow like those dressing sense fashion Instagram accounts and stuff. And I think that was like the first step into maturity of my extroverted sensing. I mean, I guess one aspect of it, but I wasn't good at it. Like most of my friends were not SP types either. But then I think after high school was the time where I started to really develop it in college because you have like more freedom and time to do it.
Yeah. So what did that look like for you to like develop it in college? Like how was that?
So I think I went out a lot more and I got to know like a lot more people, which sounds like if you know Emily, she also said the same thing.
Yeah.
That she met most friends in college, and I agree with that. I definitely have a lot more variety in friends as well, because I think in high school people are a lot more boxed into their groups, whereas in college, at least in my experience, I felt more free. Like I could befriend different people in different groups, and nobody cares. It's a big school anyway, so yeah. And because of the variety of friendship, I think that's why I could lean more into SE, because it's like different people offer like different doses of SE. And I also have like a few long-term ISFP friends who I guess did help with the whole development of SE thing, because they have it in their creative function. I mean, the second function. And I think that generally speaking, my dressing sense has got a whole lot better compared to teenage days. And in terms of assertiveness, though, I think for most INFJs, it's the same. Like, it's more of a polarizing thing. I mean, sometimes I'm really assertive and sometimes I'm not assertive enough. And I think I'm still kind of fine-tuning it. Like, I remember when I first got into SE, sometimes it's like fluctuate a bit too much, you know? Like, I feel like, oh, in certain times, I don't even need to use SE that much. Like, I don't actually have to argue so much, but I still did. And then in other times, I'm like too quiet. So it's like the whole balancing thing I think it would become more moderate as years go by. Yeah. But in the beginning, there's a lot of fluctuation.
Yeah, with my ENFP friends, they communicate a little bit differently than I do as an INFJ, and that's totally where I find the SE being too much, because since I have polar TE, I don't like communicate always my I don't know, my preferential boundaries of like what we're gonna do, like what movie we're gonna see or what restaurant we're gonna go to.
Yeah.
So asserting what I want us to do in the group either comes across as way too strong,
Yeah.
or I'm afraid to like I'm afraid to disagree with like the ENFP, and like the ENFPs normally have like an urge that they want with their introverted feeling. but this is where I find like our like yeah, my SE is just too much, and it's and like what you said, it's not that big of a deal, yet I feel either in like an
Yeah.
explosive response or like no response. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same with my ENFP friends in the past, actually, because I think some of them had the problem I had was some of them have very strong TE. I think they develop it like through the years or something, and TE tends to intimidate me. So when I encounter TE, I tend to either withdraw or start a conflict. So I don't want either one. Like both are too polarizing. So I
Yeah.
feel like I actually when I communicate with ENFPs, I actually need to somehow lean into my FI, which is like obviously not our main function, but it's still like something that we can, I guess, understand. So I feel like I need to really understand what I want and not like let it be taken over. Otherwise, it becomes that withdrawal or conflict situation,
Hmm.
which
What
is really like bad for everybody. Yeah.
yeah, what about extroverted thinking in ENFPs intimidates you?
I think it's just because I don't do well with TE in general, but I think
What is
with
TE? Like what do you, can you give an example? Like or
mhm.
like do you know, can you expand on like how their TE looks like when they assert it?
Yeah, so I think that generally speaking, people with tertiary TE sometimes are because I guess it's not like fully developed, but it's still pretty strong. So sometimes that can scare me more than like second T as a second function. I don't know why, but
Hmm.
for some reason that just seems to be the case because I'm not very scared of ISTJs or INTJs. Maybe because
Hmm.
they're experts. But with like TE people, like the extrovert TE people, like either the dominant TE or tertiary TE, I tend to have a problem because they would be they have like a debate style. I don't know. Like they would have this like ordering you kind of vibe. Even if they don't want to, it just comes off that way sometimes to me. Like I'm very sensitive to it. Like it feels like I'm being ordered to do something. Even if that's like may not be their intention all the time, but it just feels like they are um, having this like really authoritative speech, and that tends to scare me. And I know that sometimes that's not their intention, though. It's just how they communicate. But to me, I think because of our polar function, we are just not used to that.
Hmm. Yeah, like with what you're talking about. So with the ENFPs that I have gotten to know, so if you said you're not afraid of ITJs, right? But you are somehow afraid of the extroverted thinking in ENFPs. So what I've come to kind of observe is that so ISTJs and INTJs, they do a lot of extroverted thinking naturally because it is their second function.
Yeah,
Whereas ENFPs and ESFPs can get in the habit of talking about performing extroverted thinking and talking about being productive. And it's something they show and it's something they like really flex on other people, but
yeah,
it's actually not one of their strengths
yeah.
because
It's
their
not.
strengths are NE and FI. So like with me, um, it's like with my ENFP friends, it's like they sporadically will
Flex
like
TE,
what?
flex TE.
Yeah, yes. Oh my God, yeah. They'll like one day my roommate, I had an ENFP roommate and we had a class together. And no offense, but I was like a lot better than her in this particular class. And like I skipped a class one day because I didn't need the class. And she like her extroverted thinking went off, and she's like, Trevor, you have like an issue. You're not coming to class. And I'm like, girl, slow your roll. Like, you don't even know that this class is like kindergarten level to me. Like, and that sounds really egotistical to say, but like, it's like this like sporadic flexing. And so with my ENFP friends, I've been like contemplating how to deal with this. And then one day I watched one of my ENFP friends with one of her other friends, and this friend did not take any of this crap and would always call out the ENFP when they would use TE. And it was very stressful, and it really stressed out the ENFP because they would kind of always realize that they were kind of they were expressing TE, but they weren't always diligent in going from A, B to C to get something done. They would just see, like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good point. Like, I think I want to touch on this point in terms of like when we are developing our weaker functions in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think we tend to have this like immature usage of the function. So
Mm-hmm.
with me and you, it's our TI and SE, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are like focusing on SE, but I guess we can like briefly just talk about how it shows up. So when we do develop our weaker functions, I think we tend to focus on the surface, the superficial aspects of it at first. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, when I was developing my SE, I also had a few, I think like 1 or 2 years where I was like being really immature with the use of SE. I wasn't like actually understanding what the value of SE was. I was just kind of thinking what it looks like imagining because of how other people act. And the way I use it is very superficial. Like, it's like, oh, sometimes being argumentative without a reason much, and also like being too forceful in certain situations where it's not going to benefit me. And when I think back, I think it's like I have like the superficial look of SE, but I didn't actually incorporate it into my personality like in a holistic way, because I think there are ways where SE can really benefit INFJs, but in order to use that in a useful, like actually long-term way, we have to really understand the inherent value of SE and not focus on the superficial, like, oh, argue and conflict type of benefits, I guess. I think for me, when I grow older, I realize SE is about taking action when it really matters, like not actually contemplating your dreams, but doing things that are going to take you to the next step, and also about taking initiative. And I think the assertiveness too, because when it is necessary, like when we have to like stand up for something, then it can come in handy, but not in
Like
this
courage.
radical way. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like courage, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I agree with like how it's like you kind of sprinkle it on at first, and then it actually is something you have to develop.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
the easy way out, at first. Like when people are like not very confident in their weaker functions, they tend to just take the easy way out, which is, being sporadic and like really random with the flexing and the
Like an
superficial.
INFJ door slam.
What?
Like an INFJ door slam, like an INFJ who never stands up for
Yeah.
themselves and then door slam, like that's crazy, Yeah. I think like with what you're talking about, something you have to integrate into your personality is really important, because I don't think that sticking up for yourself is the only thing about obviously it's not the only thing about extroverted sensing.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think about extroverted sensing that comes with integration of extroverted sensing is a certain sense of relaxation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because introverted intuition, I believe, also engages in conflict. So what I think is introverted intuition can engage in conflict out of its own intensity. Um, and introverted intuition is often very intense. So INFJs can be very intense and volatile in our um, in like in our minds, like to ourselves. We might like I know myself as an extremely intense person. Other
Yeah.
INJs I know I think are extremely intense people. You know, we're intense to each other, but not to everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we kind of have to hide it sometimes, like sadly, because it doesn't, other people are not going to get it. So we have to
Yeah.
like use FE to kind of, you know, not make NI so obvious, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so like with so what comes along with being okay with like conflict and let's say like going skydiving and going to parties all the time, I think is like an inner calmness and inner relaxation. So in this way, so do you know any ESTPs? Like do you have how many have you been close with?
I know like ESTPs mainly as acquaintances, and they're very few, but I know more ESFPs, slightly
Oh,
more. So I guess I would use the ESFP as a reference.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. So with ESTPs, okay, so my experience with so going off of talking about how extroverted sensing is relaxing. So when you're around,
They're pretty laid
yeah, yeah, they're really laid back. And whereas an ESFP or ESTP might rile up an ESTJ or an ESFJ and they might fight all the time, with INFJs, it's like we really neutralize each other. And yeah, you can tap into like a lot of pleasure and relaxation in SE. And that might be most obvious with the ISFP personality type
back.
because, yeah, they're like all about face masks and makeup. In
Yeah,
my,
they love that. They
yeah,
love makeup and like fashion and looking good and all that.
oh yeah, they like love the fairy stuff. Yeah, so I think like within this relaxation, another layer to it is also not giving a fuck because so once you integrate extroverted sensing and like so for me like I'm not like I'm not trying to like say I'm a perfect integrated person, but having I've confronted so many people and had a lot of experience confronting people that I mean eventually over time I start to like understand that I just need my space from people and that I start to see people's red flags more. And I, because that's kind of like extroverted sensing is just going at it from a superficial level and just recognizing who you do and don't want to allow into your space, right? Um, so it's like, yeah, a lot of it is distancing yourself from other people and pushing out other people's energy, I guess, in my opinion. Um, and then like you see yeah you see this with like with ESFPs and ESTPs because like to go out and party all the time or um to confront people all the time you have to you have to not care about the things that are extroverted sensing holds so close to heart or extroverted feeling holds so close to heart. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I feel like with the dominant SE people, they really don't like they really have this attitude where they can do whatever they want. And I mean that sounds like, you know, very gangster, which it is. And it's like it's not like a thing that is within them. Well,
Oh,
place.
okay. Yeah, my Wi-Fi is just terrible. Wait, but so you said extroverted sensors or dominant SPs, they always go for freedom, and you said what was your point after that?
Oh yeah, I was saying like INFJs, when they are developing their SE, they can appear like they don't care, like because they want to like flex the SE. And I noticed that especially with like INFJ guys, the straight guys especially, because I think ASTP, I mean, culturally speaking, there is this stereotype that ESTPs are like the guys to esteem after. So I realized that some straight INFJ guys, when they're developing their SE, they tend to want to flex their SE. But it's not real because it's not felt within. So like they can pretend like they don't care about other people and like how they think or whatever, but it just, people know that that's not the actual how they feel. So that's like a disconnect, because again, it's like they're expressing SE versus actually integrating it into your personality.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know any straight INFJ males.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God, that's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but it's just funny, I think, because I understand like exactly why they're doing that.
Yeah. Wait, so they're caring like they don't care about, they're acting like they don't care about anyone, is what you're saying?
Yeah, like it's like because ESTPs are so, like they're given this like status, at least like culturally speaking. So sometimes INFJ guys feel like they have to act the part
Mm-hmm.
with girls, like they don't want to seem like they are, you know, too invested, or they don't want to seem like they are like as intense, I guess. But it's like, because it's not like an integration of SE, it's more like a flexing of SE. So it's not as holistic, like, because when SE people show that they don't give a fuck, it's like, that it's real. But if an INFJ does that, and that it's not like actually true, then it just comes up as, like, there is a certain amount of like projecting confidence kind of,
Oh my God. Oh, I think, oh my God, I don't even
like
know.
acting ESTP.
What? Yeah, acting like an ESP. And my friend, God bless her soul, one INFJ that my friend and I used to make fun of, like she would the I don't know how specific I can get with this, but basically like to have an emotional or to, what was it, to adopt an animal or something, she couldn't have an emotional connection with it. And my friend and I were like, this girl has like emotional connections with everything, how is she gonna like claim to not have an emotional connection with this like animal? Like, it's just ridiculous. And my other INFJ friend, she would like, what did she do? Like one day, like her friend group was stressing her out and she went off and like dyed her hair blonde, something crazy. Like she never would have
Wow.
done that. Yeah, like for an INFJ to touch their hair is like a pretty big deal. Like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
because my hair is usually like not like very, I don't know, like, I guess conservative looking, like nothing crazy.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and I mean, like, to be honest, I also am guilty of doing that, as in not like, maybe not to the degree of like, not to the like acting like a ESTP guy kind of degree, but I think that when I was younger, I definitely felt the need to maybe overcompensate. I think it's because we know that we are weak in that, so it's like we want to appear to be more cold, or like not care, because it's like something that we are not secure about. But I
Yeah,
think as you get older, it's just not as much, because it's like, okay, I mean, quite a lot of people like sensitive people anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much.
INFJ straight guys, like I think that would just be a nightmare. Like extroverted feeling in men is just bad. Like especially like straight guys. I don't know, like I'm like,
You mean like
what?
they have a lot of like stress, as in from society, that kind of like not conforming to the ideal?
Yeah. Because like extroverted feeling, is like warm. And so you see this in most male feelers. They generally will say the ones who are like sweet and nice, they will try to be sweet and nice and say all of these nice things, but in like tough and like rigid ways to come across as masculine. So they're
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
for
they're
sure.
like, yeah.
ISFP guys do that too. Like they try to overemphasize on the SE. That's the funny thing. I realize all guys, I mean, maybe not all, that's a generalization, but a lot of guys, they try to emphasize on their SE, wherever the SE is. So if they have it in their extroverted sensing, like in the second function, they would also like lean into it more, because for the feeler guys, I mean, because they feel like they have to like use the SE to kind of hide the FI for the ISFPs case. And then for INFJs, the SE is the last function, but they still try to like hype it up, you know, because it's like, yeah, it's like, I think it's a cultural pressure, cultural factor. And it doesn't help that, you know, people have this like really cultural, like we are bombarded by this like rap artists and this idea of this like ideal I don't know, celebrity culture situation where the guys are like supposed to act a certain way and get all the models and all that.
Oh my god. You know,
because of the entertainment, yeah.
You know, I see this SE thing with the masculinity. I see that in like, I think ISTPs do that, what you talked about also, because with ISTPs, I see them with the men. I see them they're not trying to hide their emotions, but they can often use SE to try to hide their nerdiness. And they're
yes, they do. That is so true.
Call them out. Yeah, they do. They try to hide their nerdiness, and they try to like they try to
exactly the ISTP guy in my school back. I mean, I'm not gonna be specific, but yeah.
Yeah. No, they do that, and they try.
No, they are really smart. ISTPs are actually really smart people. Like a lot of them are so smart, but you can't tell because they try to flex the SE.
Yeah, they're trying to seem all hard all the time, but they're with TI, they're super smart, and they're also they take note of everything. Like TI is like analytical, and they like to understand people. And although it's a thinking function in our society and just in human interaction, like wanting to deeply understand someone is like a sign of intimacy. So like TI has a way of intimacy that also goes against the pressures of like masculinity and extroverted sensing.
Yeah. And I realized that, it's the same. Like I mean, I'm not gonna, again, hopefully nobody would know who I'm talking about, but like I know this ISTP who appears to be like very jock-like, with like the whole, you know, the look and the hobbies and stuff. But then when I actually talked to him, like, and like saw, because we had like a few common classes, and I saw like what he wrote during class, like for assignments, and it was like he's really smart, and he's actually a lot smarter than what he looks. I mean, what he projects. And I don't think, maybe it's not completely intentional, but definitely I think there is this pressure of at least showing the SE side first before showing the smart, like theoretical side, because they do have NI as the tertiary function, which can actually be pretty strong. Like when they develop the NI properly, I noticed that they can actually be like really good in studies, like academia too, which is like people don't usually associate them with that, but they can. Yeah, they can be really good at like learning about like subjects in school, which I'm not going to specify because I'm afraid that people will understand who I'm talking about. But yeah,
I thought ISTPs were really good at school. I thought ISTPs were really good at school. Every ISTP that I know is like an engineer wizard. Like, you don't think it's part of the stereotype that they're good at school? I thought it was.
Oh, I didn't. I don't know. Maybe it's like,
I don't know.
Depends on the MBTI website.
Yeah,
some of them get portrayed like guys on motorcycles, like, which is like, you know, it really depends on the ISTP, but they can look very different depending on the person. So yeah, some of them can actually be into the arts, which I know is not like very touched on, but ISTPs can also be into the arts because of their NI and TI and it's the same with like INTPs. Some of them can also be into the arts. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
depending on like what they like. But I think like back to the whole SE topic, it's really like a combination. I mean, when we are dealing with SE, it's also like a combination of like culture and our upbringing. I don't know if like you as a guy, I mean, maybe it's different because you are
Gay.
not straight. Yeah, so it's like the pressure to use SE is probably not there.
Well, like extroverted sensing in the gay community is totally different. So like with straight people, it like that sort of energy would manifest in being like manly, decisive,
Mhm.
um
Taking
like
action,
yeah, but
like pursuing somebody. Yeah, like
mhm.
you always see like those movies with them like pursuing somebody, being like really confident about it and stuff.
Yeah. In dating ESFPs and ESTPs, they would move way too fast on the first date. Emotionally, like it felt like they wanted to like move in together. It is overwhelming. It is like, and it's not even that like we connected so well, but it's like it feels like it's this wave of like they want to create something right now, and it's like so overwhelming. And like but like in the gay community, so like I mean it depends what branch of the community you're in, but like a
Mhm.
lot of people, there's a lot of prejudice in the gay community. Like some people say like they only want masculine guys, and that's like a popular thing. So like it depends like who your circle of gay friends is and what
Mhm.
they value. But like
Right.
a lot of them, they put way too much emphasis on like being like ripped and like um I mean, I have a very sheltered experience in the gay community because I know that like I guess this does really relate to MBTI because I have such low SE. I don't even want to entertain these hierarchies of like dominating people through some sort of physical status, you know.
Mhm.
But like I have an ENFJ. I have some ENFJ friends in the gay community.
ENFJs can be pretty good at SE. I mean, they can be pretty, maybe not, I wouldn't say good at it, but they can use it quite a lot. Yeah.
Who?
ENFJs. Yeah.
Yeah.
They use it a lot. Yeah. They also do the flexing SE thing a
Yeah, yeah,
lot.
yeah. So, two of the ENFJs that I have dated, they are also drag queens. And so the drag queenness totally feeds into their use of extroverted sensing. And I think that it's pretty interesting because the ENFJs, they're drag queens, but a part of their drag that they have to work on, that I've seen them have to work on, is that they have to get over their clumsiness. And so them being in drag helps them work through their like issues of being clumsiness. Like if you're an INFJ or an intuitive, if you're an NJ, because we don't have introverted sensing, we don't keep track of all the errors we might make in like grammar, or like we might like always be tripping when we walk, or we're like
Yeah.
maybe
I'm
not.
pretty clumsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like and then so like it's been great to watch these ENFJ gay guys like develop their SE through drag. And then the other side of this is that since it would make sense that all of my friends in the gay community are ENFJs, because they're going to be care about SE enough to want to participate in it, but they're going
Mhm.
to understand me enough to be okay with me not being like popular or like someone with a lot of status. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah, that is actually an interesting topic that we can
yeah.
like end on since it's like reaching an hour. But the popularity thing, I want to touch on that as well because I do realize that SE has a hierarchy kind of awareness, and I know that with my SP friends that like a lot of SPs are influencers. I mean, that's just how it is. I think
Yeah.
a lot of SPs today are like on TikTok or
Ew.
on
Yeah.
Instagram, like getting the followers. And I think that it is kind of a trap sometimes. Like I actually went through that phase, as in obviously not to that degree of like going on TikTok, becoming like uploading like sexy videos, but I am more of an Instagram person. So there was one like a small period of time in my life where I was like uploading pretty constantly, and I think it was the SE at the back end, like caring about likes and comments and all that.
I see
Like
you, Tori. Your little.
hierarchy. What?
I was saying, I see you, Tori. Your little like TikTok girl, like.
Well, I only have 4 followers and it died. Like because I have too many social media channels to like take care of for my YouTube channel. So because I already have like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and I got lazy, so I stopped uploading on TikTok.
Oh
But
my
I'm more
god.
of an Instagram person, so I used to like upload really frequently in my college years because I think it was like the SE hierarchy thing going on. But
Oh
then
yeah.
later on, I actually got like tired. So because SE is our last function, so it's not going to be as strong as the others. And
Mhm.
I came to a point where I felt like it's not going to be something that gives me like long-term fulfillment, and I just stopped because it's like the likes are just there, but it's not like actually improving my day in any tangible way. So I felt like it's not like necessary to keep uploading so many
Yeah.
things.
Oh my god. Yeah, I totally like. Yeah, that's like why I got a YouTube channel, was like to get that extra stimulation of likes. Because I mean, I was going through something and I just needed that like
Become an
extra.
influencer. I'm just kidding.
What?
Become an MBTI influencer. Just kidding.
No, yeah. No, that's yeah, exactly. My friends and we actually used to like message each other and be like my post. I just like posted. It was crazy. We had like a whole thing going, but
My
like,
ISFP friend does that too.
yeah. And then like what my INFJ friend, like INFJs, like sometimes with like the SE grip, maybe
Mhm.
like sometimes you might like freak out and like think like I need more followers and like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I remember in when was it? It was in high school. I had like a ton of followers and I was like getting popular because it was like,
Wow.
yeah, I had like my junior year of high school. I was like, oh my god, it's all coming back. Like the power was starting to go to my head, and I had like
Oh
so many
yeah.
Instagram followers. And like one time, I deleted a post because it didn't get enough likes, and it was like, oh my god, it was like a whole obsession. But I mean, it's funny now, and it was funny back then. Like, who really
Yeah,
cares?
yeah. I understand that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like now because I understand myself better, I try to do something that is like also meaningful to me. I mean, that sounds like a FI thing, but whatever. I mean, also NI, I guess. Like, I try not to focus on the followers alone. Like, I try to be like, okay, I'm putting out something that is meaningful to me, and
Mhm.
if more people like it, I'll be happier that way. Whereas in the past, it's more like, oh, I gotta build up my Instagram just to look
Yeah.
good and like be looking good in the eyes of others. And I just feel like that is not sustainable. And I think that's also a pitfall of people with SE in general, not just us. But I think even with like influencers, I feel like they can actually be pretty like they can feel pretty drained by that too, because I mean I have like SP friends and they are constantly feeling the pressure to project this image of confidence and perfection, and it doesn't really sustain them because once people get to know them, then it's like a very different from the image, and that can actually lead to a lot of disappointment. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, you just slayed some people. Wait, so yeah, oh my god. Are you talking about like are you talking about ENTJs and ISFPs? Are you talking about ENJs and SPs or just
Yeah,
SPs?
just like ENJs and SPs, like people with SE, I guess. Especially the stronger like SE people because they tend to become like influencers. I mean, I have nothing against influencers. I actually have friends who are influencers, but I just feel like it can become a trap, you know, if they're not careful. Like it can actually affect their self-esteem, like relying on the whole getting people to see them in a certain way, and then when they actually know them, it's very different from like the pictures, obviously, with everybody. Like personality wise, you're not able to keep up with that perfect like look.
Mm-hmm. So are you talking about like on what type of influencers are you talking about?
Mainly like people with like SE as the first and second functions, but also like ENFJ sometimes.
So like
Just like people with SE.
what product do they put out when they influence? Are they like Instagram models or TikTok
Yeah,
dancers?
like Instagram models, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, like a modeling type, yeah.
yeah. But like, oh no, oh my God, like all the ESTPs that I know are like totally different lives on their social medias.
Mhm.
Now, one of the ESTP women that I know, she is like spewing her guts on her social media. Like you know all of her stuff if you just
Wow.
yeah, if you found her Instagram or her Facebook, you would know all of her problem, like everything she goes through on a daily basis. And that's kind of who she is. But like, yeah, ESTPs, like, I don't know if this is like, I haven't seen that so much with extroverted sensing influencers, but I'm sure it exists. Like just scrolling through TikTok, it's because I don't always know because I don't know the people themselves. So like, I mean, I
Mhm.
can't just watch someone's TikTok and like diagnose them immediately. And like, I'm bad at typing people anyway. So like, but I trust your analysis because oh, it's also like with an ESP, their tertiary function, they're gonna want to flex that on their social media, and that'll come through being a leader too, right?
Right, yeah. And
Yeah.
also with like it depends on like their intention. So I know ESTPs, because their tertiary function is FE, so they actually want to feel loved. Um, yeah, even though they don't want to show it, but whatever, you
We
know.
know better.
Yeah. So sometimes they're flexing on social media is like for that intention. I think it's like different intention for everybody, I guess. But definitely the SE thing can I feel like SE in general is pretty concerned with hierarchy, and that can
Mhm.
sometimes be like really stressful to maintain, because it's like at the end of the day, social media fame is not going to translate to like
Fulfillment.
yeah, exactly. So it's
Mhm.
just like a pitfall thing. Not saying that they cannot do that, but it's just more like not relying on that, I guess. A general announcement, I guess. So once again, thank you, Trevor, for coming on. This is actually a really fruitful discussion. Like I feel like we touch on a lot about extroverted sensing
Yeah.
that we have like I have personally not mentioned in any videos or talked about in like normal conversations. So once again, if you want to subscribe to Trevor, hit the button like in the description box. And if you want like to do future videos on your channel, then I will be down for that.
Yeah.
And okay, remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Bye.
Bye.